You're listening to Top 4, a new series presented by the Game Pitch Podcast.
Join hosts Brandon and Eli as they build gaming Mount Rushmores every week.
Enjoy topics that range from the best multiplayer types to the top bug Pokemon.
Catch fresh episodes of Top 4 every Wednesday on the Project Nerd Network.
And don't miss new episodes of the Game Pitch Podcast, dropping every Monday morning.
Let's get ready to rank. Hello and welcome to the Top 4 and More podcast. I'm Eli, and today we're doing a special one-off episode. So usually what we do is we do our top 4 gaming Mount Rushmores of a specific topic that either me or Brandon, he's here as well. Hello, Brandon.
Hey, everybody.
So usually we rank different subjects. We've done Mario levels, we've done, video game scores, soundtracks, things like that. But this week, this is an all spoiler edition talking about The Last of Us Part 2. So if you have not played the game, please pause this, save it for later, because we are going to get into full spoilery detail. Usually on the show, we go back and forth, revealing our picks from number 4 to number 1. From the best of, or the worst of the best to the best of the best. But this week, we're just going to go back and forth, asking each other questions, 4 questions each. So Brandon will ask 4, I'll ask 4, just about The Last of Us Part 2, because man, what a good game. Actually, Brandon, where I want to start with this? I just want to ask you, friend, how you feeling, buddy?
I'm feeling a lot of things, Elijah. A lot of things. I'm feeling very sad. I'm feeling very happy. I'm feeling every emotion. I tell you what, I hit credits about 20 hours ago, and it took me, I had to sleep on it to, really understand how I felt about the game, dude. It was impactful, for sure.
I guess let's just do some general discussion now. I'm sure or maybe we just need to jump into the questions, because all of the things that we're going to talk about are going to be kind of influenced by the questions we have. So just answer my own question. How am I feeling? It's the same thing. It's this. I think you kind of touched on this and hit the nail on the head. It's just you feel every emotion that you can feel in this game. And I just think that when you emotionally, physically, mentally can't take any more of this game, there's levity in it, or there's it's just you they empty you out, and then they find another way to make you feel something else. So you're constantly being filled and emptied just as a human. So this is and I've talked to a lot of my friends just about this when they ask me about the game, and it's really funny that because I played Minecraft Dungeons with our mutual friend Andy Sunday. I beat it on a Saturday night at 8 p.m. and I did that same thing. I slept on it, and then next day, probably almost 24 hours later, we got on Minecraft Dungeons, and I was just thinking to myself, it's so crazy that this is a video game when I'm playing Minecraft Dungeons, and then also The Last of Us is a video game. They don't make sense that they're the same species. So it's just kind of mind-boggling in that sense. So, let's start with your first question.
My goodness, man. All right, again, full spoilers. We're talking about everything here. So how did you feel about the mid-game twist of switching to playing as Abby?
I think it's one of the best things that a video game has done, and I don't think that I felt that way in the moment. When you fully realize what's going to happen, because after you get through day 1, then it's day 2, and you're like, oh, F, we're really doing this. Okay. And I think that the twist works. I think, and it's actually funny because this actually kind of ties into one of my questions for you. So that's fine that these are kind of similar, because I actually wanted to ask you, how the fuck did they make Abby work? Because for all intents and purposes, you should hate her more than anything, and you do not. Or maybe you do. Maybe you do. I don't know.
So that's the thing. This is one of the reasons why this is one of the questions that I chose. It's been apparently, and I've only heard secondhand stuff, but apparently the internet is just very, very divided about this game. Whether they like it, whether they don't, whether you like the Abby portion of the game, or whether you hate it.
And so I guess I haven't seen those negative reviews, and I haven't talked to someone who's played the game or seen a review who hasn't completely gushed about the game. I do know there's the controversy online right now where it's getting review bombed because people don't like representation. They don't like, lesbians or trans, and they're just flaming it for having a lead female protagonist, which all the way fuck those guys forever.
Oh, yeah,
or girls or whoever they hate. Yeah, whoever's spreading that hate and doing that stuff, they can screw off. Yeah, because I don't know if you saw, Neil Druckmann tweeted how they got more Metacritic user reviews. They're at 26,000 now, but they got more in 2 hours of The Last of Us being out than Last of Us Part 1 got in 7 years. They got more reviews in a single, like, less than 24 hours. It was insanity.
Wow. Holy crap. I
Yeah,
assume they
yeah.
removed them.
No, Metacritic has them up, man. They're because
Wow, what the
it's like
fuck?
a I think it's a 95 for critics and like a 3.3 or 3.4 for audience review. Let's get back to your question, and this is like the last jumping off point. Like, seriously, if you have not played The Last of Us, even if you think to yourself you don't intend to play it, please stop listening, because you really want to experience the story for itself. Because I think both of us were kind of tippy-toeing around the thing we wanted to say around Abby, and you kind of mentioned the twist there, but the real twist, and like I said, please stop listening. If you have not played the game, go play the games. It's worth it. Like, trust me. The big twist is Joel gets murdered within the first 3 hours of the game, and Abby bludgeons him to death with a golf club.
Right in front of you. It makes you watch. Yep.
We both started with Abby as a question because how?
Yeah, man. Again, I did not buy into Abby at the beginning, like at all. Like I just,
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, I had a friend who beat it before me, and he was like, "Hey, where you at?" I was like, "Seattle Day 3." He's like, "Oh man, I really didn't like the rest of the game." So that was unfortunate because I went in with that expectation, and so it was very hard for me to buy into Abby. I was like, I do not want to do this. I just want to play as Ellie. I just give me more Ellie stuff. I just want to play as Ellie. And some of the stuff felt a little, I guess, heavy-handed. Like, another friend of mine who I was talking to this about, he was like, I felt like they were going to show that she was volunteering at the local orphanage and that the kids were calling her Miss Abby. Like they were really trying to make you like her, you know? And some of it felt a little heavy-handed. But we'll touch on like my final resolution with that later. But yeah, no, man, I'm right there with you because I had that perspective. I didn't like it, but looking at it now after the credits and after some time to process, like, man, it should not have worked, but it worked. It worked.
Now, I think this is not a question on my list, but I think that Naughty Dog's asking a bigger question here, like, what is a bad guy? And I think the title itself, The Last of Us, us being the optimum word, because it's us versus them, and I think that's a commentary on society as well. And like, when I like, the more you think about this stuff and the symbolism and the metaphors, the more my heart hurts, because Abby has the exact same journey as Ellie, and they're just on different points of the track, essentially, because Abby has that father figure that's taken from her, and then she can't let it go. She can't live her life. She can't find love. She can't be okay until she gets revenge for what happened to her. And then that same thing happens to Ellie at the beginning of the game. And
Yep.
the way that they mirror their two paths, whether it's the zebra, like, there's just so, the aquarium to the music, like, there's so many things that you're just like, wow, it really is all a matter of perspective. The victors get to write history, and it just sucks so bad. I gotta be honest with you, I like Abby more. And I actually was really sad that I had to play as Ellie again. And I was just like, yeah, like, I don't know, man. Like, I could not have predicted that I would be like, I ride for Abby. Like, that's who I ride for now. She's built like an ox.
Guys, she's fucking jacked. She's She-Hulk. But yeah, okay, that's interesting. So did you have an emotional connection with Ellie or anything? Like, were you invested in her story beforehand, or what?
Oh, I loved her. She's one of my favorite
Okay.
video game characters of all time, but seeing her get in her own way, it's one of those things where, like, and I think we might talk about this part a lot more, but I felt it harder with Ellie to press square to hit Abby than I found it harder to press square as Abby to hit Ellie. Just at the points where I was with the whole story. But I think that that's actually maybe my next question for you. Then it's just that, what did you think the story was going to be for this game before it came out?
Yeah, no, me either. Because so I went in pretty blind. Like obviously there were leaks that happened on the internet. I didn't see any of that.
Mm-hmm.
I stopped watching trailers after um I think the last one I saw was the gameplay one at E3, the year that they did the Spider-Man gameplay too, I think. It's been a while since I had seen anything on this game. I went in I didn't even read a review before playing either. Like I went in as blind as I possibly could. So
Gotcha.
I didn't really know what to expect. I assumed that like Joel's whole storyline would be like him obviously like dealing with her finding out, right? Something to do with the cure because that's the only way I saw Joel's story continuing. So that first 2 hours, man, to see that, that was at that point, that's where I was like, okay, this is just going to be unexpected events after unexpected events, and it really was, man. It was. I'm glad that I went in that way.
There's even like some Marvel fake out trickery that they did too, because I did remember some of the trailer stuff. So you remember that scene where Jesse puts his hands around Ellie's mouth and he's like, "You think I was going to let you do this alone?"
I don't remember that part specifically. No.
So when Jesse first catches up to Dina and Ellie in Seattle.
In the game or in the trailer?
In
Sorry,
the
I remember
game,
in the game. Yeah.
yeah, in the game. So in the trailers, they actually had Joel there. That was Joel in the trailers.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, like they went that far in length that there's like certain parts where Ellie's talking to Tommy and Tommy's sitting on the couch talking to her, that they switched out the model and it's Joel there, and they had Troy Baker record lines as like to make like they did this whole like switcheroo trickery thing that I didn't like see coming at all.
That's cool then.
Like I said, so that's one of the questions I wanted to ask you. Like, what did you think the story was? Because initially I thought they're showing Dina in these trailers, and I'm figuring that this is going to be Ellie's longtime girlfriend since whenever, the game ended, and it's 5 years after the end of The Last of Us Part 1 in this Part 2 chapter. But I thought that would have been like Ellie's girlfriend the whole time, and then either some mixture of fireflies or some evil group was going to come attack Jackson, and then Dina would have died, and then it was a revenge story of Ellie and Joel going to get revenge for their friends who died in Jackson. And I figured that Tommy would have been one of those casualties to give Joel a good reason to go and get revenge too, but that's not how it plays out, even in the slightest.
Yeah, so I can see why you would say that for sure. So I got the collector's edition. It came with like a little thank you note from the developers that Neil Druckmann wrote. I read like the first sentence of that, and it was like, "What would you do if someone you love or something horrible happened to someone you love?" And I was like, "Okay, well, this might be a revenge story." So yeah, I didn't know what the revenge story was going to be from either, because the trailer with Abby that happened at Paris Games Week, I was like, is this her mom or something? I kind of thought that's what it was going to be about before starting. But and then again, like I said, Joel's story being tied up with like her finding out. So
Like and that's so interesting how much of a backseat that actually took, because like you would think from the end of I mean, it doesn't take a huge backseat, but like you would have thought that would be like the main plot point with the way the last game ended, and they just completely
yeah,
subvert all the expectations. So let's move on to the next question on your list.
my next question: what does this mean for video games moving forward, Elijah? This was an incredible experience. This was a masterpiece, a master of its craft, like a milestone in every way, right? Like this is a fucking masterpiece.
It is. There's no question. And I'm actually, it's so funny. I think probably have a lot of the same questions, because a question on my list here, factually, is how does this change games going forward? And I want to add on the piece, just inclusion, just in general, because it's crazy to see a video game have a primary female cast doing the violence that they're doing throughout the game. You have a trans character in Lev. You have lesbians in Ellie and Dina, and this is something where these types of characters don't appear in games. Like maybe Mass Effect a few times because you're femshep and you romance a lady, but that's like not the developers telling you that this character is gay or LGBTQ. Like this is you making that choice as the player, but this is Naughty Dog taking a firm stance and being like, hey, look at these people. They have other lives. They're not just like these caricatures or action figures. Like they gave them real depth, and I care about these three specific, this man and these two women, like more than I care about a lot of other video game characters, man. So just to go back to your original question, what does this mean for games going forward? This is the benchmark. Everything has to live up to, or try and, I guess not try and top this game, but this is the game now. It took the torch, and it is the number one game.
Couldn't agree more. Could not agree more. At this, again, touching on inclusion and representation here, like this might, that coupled with it being the benchmark for video games. This, I think, you know, we may be at like a turning point, like in video game history. This might be like one of the most important video games ever made, dude.
Okay, so this kind of will tie, or you'll understand then why my next question is what it is, because I wanted to ask you, like, how many times did you have to like stop, whether it was like just putting the controller down, or you're like, Like, you have to take that like break for you because you're like shit.
Several. So definitely at Joel's death. Definitely. The next time for sure was Take on Me. That one brought me to tears. Let's see, Spaceship for sure. The hospital with Nora, dude. Oh my god, dude. Oh man, Mashing Square. Yeah, that one was rough. It was pretty frequent. It was pretty frequent. I assume the same is for you, and that's why you're asking.
I was glad that I was playing it like over the mostly I beat the bulk of it during a Saturday and during a Friday when the sun was up because I don't just know how I would have been able to deal if I couldn't like walk outside of my room that I had like covered all the windows to make it as dark as possible and like see sunlight. Like it was so needed. And I know that not midway point but like I guess the end of act 2 when you go to the farm and you're like, is this game really going to end on a happy note? And then it takes the turn that it takes. It was just like I was so glad that sunlight existed because I had to get away from the game because it's that heavy and effed up. But then also, like you mentioned, you highlighted that there are some beautiful moments too. The whole museum, the whole of the museum,
Oh yeah.
especially the spaceship. But then, yeah, I mean the aquarium. I love Owen, and then you highlighted it. The Take on Me thing is it's phenomenal. It's well, it only makes the end of the game even more heartbreaking, which really sucks.
Yeah, dude. That one fucking hurt, bro. That one fucking hurt, bro. It's gonna be thinking about that one.
I find myself as I'm walking around in my day to day, and even though it's only been, since Thursday since the game came out, I find myself just humming the "If I Ever Were to Lose You," and and then I get emotional, and I'm getting emotional now, and it's like, it fucking sucks, man. It sucks so bad.
Man, this game really tore you up, huh, buddy?
Well, no, but like even I like just that a video game can do this, or that a piece of art can do this. It's impressive, and I I'm blown away. What's your next question, man?
Do you agree with the choice that Ellie made?
No, and I kind of hate her for it, and I think that's what makes me root for Abby in the end of everything.
Okay.
Yeah, and I use the word hate, and I don't like using that word hate, but it I was so mad at her. I was so mad, and I think a lot of people might have that same feeling where like you going through this game, maybe you're doing more violence than you thought Ellie was capable of, or your Ellie that you played with, or that girl that you raised as Joel in the game. It almost hurts more because you have to watch her go through all this pain and do all this damage to everything around her, and then her final choice is she hits the nuclear option, and there are consequences, and not every game has consequences, and this game really does.
Yeah, man. It sure does. It sure does have consequences.
How did you feel about your question? Like about her choices.
So, that's the thing. I didn't know how to feel because I really wanted that happy ending for her. I really did. But when it was happening, I was like, something just like I don't I don't I don't know if this is what I want, you know? And like don't get me wrong, like I want Ellie to be happy, but I don't know. I think that I understand why she made the choice that she did, and I do agree because she, had the choice of her being the cure, like the savior of mankind potentially taken away from her. She just chose to reconnect with Joel, and then she had that choice taken away from her as well. This was the first time that like Ellie got to choose, and yeah, it sucks that like it definitely definitely went horribly wrong. And I don't know, I think her choosing to go after her what was important, and then again having another choice of actually choosing to save her was just very important, very cool character development. I think we got to see in that last minute there like who Ellie really was. And then as well, like it was great that they built this parallel with Abby and Ellie where like Abby's having nightmares, and she doesn't stop having nightmares until she helps, and she dreams of her dad when she helps like Lev and Yara.
Mm-hmm.
And then Ellie's having these nightmares, she's got PTSD, right? Like and those don't go away. She doesn't see a good vision of Joel again until she makes that choice, right?
Yeah, and I think that flashback, them waiting to use it then, because and up to that point, you think that the last thing she said to Joel was like, "I don't effing need you." Like
Yeah, dude. That was a fucking roller coaster, dude. Oh my
that scene
god.
wrecked me. Like when it ended, I was like, "Oh my god!" It's the last thing she said to him to like get the hell out of my life. Like I was just like, "No."
And then somehow they made it sadder.
Well, no, but like you said, dude, it's the her having that flashback, and the key line is, like, I don't know if I can forgive you, but I want to try, and that's I think how those her saying those words to Joel is why she decides to let Abby go, because she's just like that same thing. I don't think I can
Yeah.
give you, but I want to try, and
Yeah.
hopefully, like you said, they kind of mirror the until you do that good act, you're having these nightmares and the PTSD. Maybe that this gives Ellie that peace finally. It's a
What
tough
a
game.
heavy ass game.
Yeah, dude. Another question I had for you is this the best cast in a video game ever?
Yeah. Yeah. 100%, dude.
Okay.
The performances given by all was just incredible. Laura Bailey, Ashley Johnson, y'all killed it.
Lev, I really enjoyed, and Lev is on the OA, which I didn't know until I was doing like research after the fact just to see who people were. Of course, Jeffrey Wright, when he shows up, you know who he is because he's freaking what's his name, Bernard from Westworld. I knew his voice right away, or he's like James Bond's homie from freaking the the Bond franchise with oh man, Daniel Craig. And then there's another Westworld person, and actually the co-writer with Neil Druckmann was also a Westworld writer. So it's like there's a lot of Westworld happening in Last of Us because, yeah, because Shannon Woodward she plays Dina, and we have not given Dina enough shine, man. She is great.
Yeah.
Like that's why I wanted to bring up the cast, man, because like Owen's great. Like all like I felt like, and that's another like masterful magic trick this game does because you murder all these friends of Abby's and then you have to play through the story and care for them. Like when Manny died, I was like so pissed. I was so mad.
I mean, it was cool that like nobody had plot armor though. Like just nobody was off limits, you know? I mean, it got ooh, man, fucking Yara dying, that one was rough. Manny not getting, his moment of like a final words or whatever, just, getting shot in the face, matches up with the same thing for Jesse, right? Cuz, it's just it again, it's the parallels, it's cool.
I'm just trying to figure out how they made me care about so many people in such a short amount of time because I really like Owen. I mean, I really even like Abby's dad. It's just so weird how like I said, I called it a magic trick, but they were able to do all this stuff, and it's brilliant how like they show every side of like, okay, these fireflies they were bad, but actually they're the wolves. But you're seeing, oh, the wolves aren't like terrible people. Like look at them interacting with each other. Look at Manny getting extra breakfast burritos and like laying pipe. The last trick they want to pull is they're like, oh, we're also going to make you care about some of the Seraphites and like show that like how these are all just people and it's all just perspective.
So, well, and that's the thing too. Like yeah, that's it. That's the point. Cuz so I was talking to a mutual friend, and he was saying like, no, I don't like how dark it got, and like the whole moral ambiguity of the first one where, like, did Joel do the right thing? It's a little up in the air, because he said he's a good person, but he can do terrible things, and that's what the game's about. And I was like, I think the game's not about good people doing terrible things. I think it's, there are no good people. It's just people, and they're just trying to survive, right?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's so good. Ah,
I
ah,
would say like even this game actually goes out of its way to make sure you know that Joel was more of a bad guy. Like like of course like the stuff with Ellie aside, like when she talks about how they used to torture people and how they would make them point at the maps and beat the crap out of them, like the tactics that Joel would use and the things that he would do, or even I know because she knows who came for him. Basically, she understands that, but like she was just saying it could have been anyone. They did a lot of bad stuff back in the day, and just like how quick Tommy can snap back into that like murdering everyone and just doing bad things. Also, how the hell did he survive? What the hell? I thought I liked Tommy, but Tommy shoots Manny right in the fucking face. And you know who I like more than Tommy? Manny, in every way, shape, and form.
man, I really like Tommy. That's gonna have to agree to disagree on that one there, buddy.
Because like when I talk about how I hate the decisions that Ellie made, like she murders a pregnant woman. She kills O. Like I love O. Like it's so like you said, man. Like
Sure.
it's them and it's us, and it's like a mind blowing concept to be hidden in almost the title of the game this whole time. It's
Yeah, man, it's good
wild.
stuff. But well, sorry. So because man, that was a journey. I don't remember how we got. Well, I remember how we got here, but so because we were talking about the cast, right?
Mm-hmm,
So
mm-hmm.
I want to tie this question back to one of your questions earlier about how does the Abby section work, right? Levin Yara, like what the writers did with Levin Yara is incredible. Like that must have been so challenging to like because they built this picture of who they are, what their journey was, and who they are, like both what the relationship is and who they are as individuals, with like two different pieces of the puzzle at different times, right? But you still
Mm-hmm.
get the full picture, and that's really cool. It's really cool.
Yeah, I think when I was like feeling better about just the game in general, it's the skyscraper stuff, and just like it felt like Last of Us again, like just two people, like almost like in Game of Thrones when like two people are doing that buddy cop thing, and whether it's like the Hound and Arya on the road, or Jamie and Brienne, when it's just like two people together against whatever the world's gonna throw at them. That's when it felt like The Last of Us again. Like that's when Lev and Abby are in the skyscraper and they're going across it and they're coming down and they're fighting the infected and stuff. Just that entire section of the game, that is what Last of Us was to me, and that's when I was laughing, even though there was like the scariest monsters of the game there, or some of that like stuff, it's just like the clickers and stuff. Like that was my favorite part, I think.
Yeah, so two things on that for you, and then we can move on from there. But again, tying it back to one of your earlier questions, like that was one of the other things that really made Abby work. I think the set pieces and all of like the cool cinematic story moments, right? Like
Mm.
her story was so interesting. Like it was just it was worth having for sure. There were so many things. I swear, man, I really don't want to hear and I know if I looked on the internet I could find it, but like I don't want to find comments about like how we didn't need the Abby portion of the game because there was so much good stuff in there. Like the fight with Rat King too. Like
I can't even believe that part was in the game. Like I was just like, like when it splits off, I was like, what is happening in
yeah,
this?
that's fucking great.
It is okay. So I think on my list I just have one last question. Do you have any others on yours?
Yep.
Let's go through some of those, pal.
Okay. So sequel. Do you want one? Do we need one? Do you think we'll get one?
Oh man.
Kind of one of the reasons I asked, and bringing it back to what we were just talking about, but like, so I thought at one point like somebody, potentially Neil Druckmann, said like if we did a sequel to The Last of Us, it wouldn't be with Ellie and Joel. Like their story's done. And I'm almost wondering if they like built this game without them, because that's what the Abby part felt like. But if they built this game without them and then decided to bring like Ellie and Joel into it later, because man, they just really felt so different.
Not knowing that comment from Druckmann, or like just any of that, I would have told you that I think Ellie's story is over, and that
Okay,
if this franchise were to continue, I would prefer Abby and Lev, and then they can probably bring in other new playable characters as well. But I would heavily want Abby and Lev as the stars,
cool.
and yeah, I would be completely fine with no Ellie.
It's a very hot take. I just want to see that happy ending for Ellie, but
I don't think she deserves it.
I well agree to disagree on that one
I know,
too.
I
All right, next
know.
next question. What was your favorite moment?
It's the museum.
Okay. Yeah, that's I mean that's the obvious answer. That's what mine was too. So
Yeah, it's like that thing where like you don't think they can do it again after the giraffe thing. You're just like, we get it, we know, like we understand what you guys are going to try to do, what kind of moment. Like you make the whiteboard and you're like, okay, we want to do these things, and then it's like a moment like the giraffe moment, and it's ridiculous that it worked and how well it worked and just how great it is, and yeah, it's perfect.
100%, 100%. And then my last one, and you already kind of answered this, but like this is game of the year, right? Like obviously, right?
There's I don't think that there's any chance that it's not the game of the year. Um, okay, so what's the competition?
Well, I
So
mean, I was gonna say at this point, Cyberpunk's gonna get delayed out of the running. So
That's amazing. But yeah, so what? The competition is Animal Crossing.
I liked Doom Eternal.
Okay, the
People
competition is
liked
Doom
Doom
Eternal.
Eternal.
No, no, no. They're like, I want to add things to this conversation that have a clear shot, and it has to be The Last of Us, man. It has to be. Like we both talked about at the start, it's like it's an achievement, and I started with that it's more than a video game. It's transcendent. Like it's crazy that other video games can be compared to this. That this is the same species. It's like that thing when like someone sees a supermodel and then they post a picture of themselves, and you're like, oh, we're the same thing. Like how is this possible? It's like that's the same thing. This is the supermodel of like I and I even played this on an old PS4, so like it didn't look as good as it could have looked, and there like were a few technical hiccups and a glitch or here or there, but like it doesn't impact the game. And like there was even times where I was like frustrated that I had to play more of the game and I couldn't just find out more of the story. You know what I'm saying? Like I was just like, oh, there's an encounter here. Damn it. Or like, oh, I gotta fight. Like it was just like, I just want to get through. I just want to know. Like there's a certain point where like, especially during the Abby section, because you already have seen the Seattle Day 3 conclusion for Ellie, or like the you don't know it's the conclusion, but like where it stopped, where it cut you off and switches you over. That whole time you have that sense of anxiety, like, holy crap, I got to get through. Like, what's gonna happen? Like, it just gets crazier and crazier from there.
I wanted to rush through the Ellie stuff, but on the other part of it, like with the Ellie stuff with like the encounters, man, I gotta disagree. Just because the combat was so good, and what I gotta commend the animation team because like, dude, the combat, like everything that you did, even the exploring, like it all looked so natural and like how fluid and real it looked. Like it almost felt like everything was part of the narrative. Like they made the movement part of the narrative just so well.
I was gonna say there's like too many collectibles. I was getting anxiety, like thinking that I missed something, or whenever I'd go through like a crack or a section that would like make the stuff crumble behind me. I was like, no, I didn't look up those stairs or that one corner. Damn it! Like I was getting like hella anxiety about missing stuff.
Yeah, man, me too. I actually just started my new game plus run because I'm gonna try to plat it
Nice.
soon. So but yeah, so I know what you mean. I know what you mean. I hated missing stuff because it wasn't always super clear like where the next like right area to go is. So
Oh
I
yeah, no,
missed
not at
some
all.
exploration stuff sometimes because of that.
Yeah, it was. I had my tactic was like whenever I got into a new area, I just go around the perimeter from like left to right or right to left, and like hoping that like I would just whenever it was like something where it was like, oh, you got to hold triangle here. I was like, oh no, not here, and then so I'd go like the rest of the perimeter.
Yeah,
Just like I got to find everything.
yeah. No, that's the way to do it, dude. And then by the end of the game, you're fucking stacked. You're a pill addict, but you're like fucking
Stacked. Well, not as stacked as Abby because she's the most stacked in the land.
just the stackedest. She's stacked with two C's.
Okay, my last question was why does no one address or yell about the horse dying? Like justice for Shimmer. Like what the hell?
Justice
Like,
for Shimmer.
there's no and I get like maybe this is the game where like people are like but yeah, I just was so weirded out that there was no dialogue about Shimmer getting blown the hell up. Like I was so pissed off about that.
Yeah, man, this game was rough on like, uh, Naughty Dog, quit making me kill the good boys.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna ask you, is there a way to avoid killing the dogs? Because I could not find it in my playthrough.
I am not sure. What's unfortunate, the worst thing actually that I figured out, is that if you kill the people around the dog without alerting it, it gets very sad, and
Oh
uh,
no.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, maybe you could have snuck by there, but I messed up on my last dude. So, anyways, yeah, I don't know. I sure hope so though, because I'm gonna try. I'll try in my new game plus, and I'll let you know.
Yeah, because I just didn't want to kill the doggos at any time, and that kind of sucked. That like really sucked. I was like, no.
Yeah, that was.
Well, any closing thoughts, bud? Anything else you want to say about the game? Anything we missed talking or touching on?
I think that's it, man. I think that's it. It's a good game. You should play it. I mean, I would hope that you have already played it if you're this far in this, but that's it, man. Just what a quality game. Actually, no. Hold on.
Yeah.
DLC.
Oh,
Did you play the original or the DLC for the
yeah,
first one?
yeah.
Because we'll probably get one, right?
I don't think it's necessary. I like this as a statement on Sony, but Sony does like money. I know that they're doing like the separate factions component as a multiplayer drop thing later at some point. Um, if we get a story, I would bet that it's the guy who we let out of the cage at the end of the game. The at the in the
Oh, yeah,
Radler's
yeah, 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 yeah.
fighting place, because then you could do a thing where like Abby comes in, and I thought that they were a fighting ring, like making the people fight the infected inside of like little gladiatorial arenas. That's what they looked like they were when I looked
Yeah.
in the concept art. So maybe it's that guy's story, and then Abby comes into it at some point, and you get to see like Abby's weight loss and like her, and like maybe you help her and Lev try to get out. Like maybe that's the story they give us. But other than that, I was actually thinking like, what if that guy was Ishmael? Like, or like, wait, did Ish die, or like was there a finale to that? I can't remember. Like I was just thinking, I kept expecting to see Ishmael or see more with him.
Who?
Ish from the first game, the guy who in the letters was kind of giving his story.
Oh, I have no idea. No, I don't know. I don't think so, but maybe. I don't know. That's interesting. I have not thought about that.
Hmm.
I was
I
thinking
don't know. Yeah,
Tommy
what do you want?
DLC.
Oh, you want Tommy? Of course you do.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I just feel like it makes the most sense because you can weave it into the story that's already been told, right?
Mm, yeah. Yeah. No, I feel you. And then you can make me snipe all of Manny's team and then shoot Manny right in the stupid face.
Right in the stupid face.
Maybe we'll get a little bit more Jesse because Jesse fishes him out of the water and helps him out or whatever.
Oh man, Jesse DLC would be cool. I'd be into that. What else? You got anything else to say about The Last of Us Part Two, Elijah?
No, just what you said, man. It's so great. Like, I guess we didn't talk really a lot about the end, and the hardest moment of the game is she's trying to play the song and she doesn't have the fingers to fucking do it, man.
Yep,
Sucks.
she lost the last part of Joel right there. It's real heavy, real heavy. Just the worst. I'm sad now.
I'm sad too. Well, thanks for listening to Top Four and More, this special edition. You can find us on Google and Spotify and balled up in a corner holding Apple Podcast app. This has been the podcast of us.
The podcast. Oh my gosh, dude.
I'm the worst.
Okay. All right. All right.
We're ending
Goodbye,
it.
everybody.